of young and old. And I wanted to go to a passage of a suicide, because suicide is not something that's for people who are only poor, only of one race, only of one age group, only of one demographic or location. It's happening all over, and it's been something that's happened. In the 1 Samuel 31, we're going to see the suicide of King Saul. The reason why I say that is because thinking can be so perverted that you think that the only means to solve or to get out of or to just give up is to take your life. And young girls and boys are doing it, and older boys and girls are doing it. Men and fathers and brothers and uncles and soldiers are taking means into their hands to say, I'd rather just end my life than go and live one more day of how I feel and think and feel like other people, and I'm in such a dark and dismal place. In the very beginning of Samuel chapter 31, now the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell dead on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines were in hot pursuit of Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons. He's in grief. He lost his sons. All is over because his sons are dead. The battle is failing and he's losing. Death of a loved one could cause you to spiral. Death of anybody you care about can cause you to spiral. Get mental health, get counseling, but don't get to a place where you feel like your life is over because that person that you love is gone. That person will be the first person to tell you, live. They didn't want you to die because they died. It was their time, but live. So he sees that his sons have been killed. They killed his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archer overtook him, they wounded him critically. So he's disabled. So he's seen his sons die. He's disabled, he's hurt. And when you're hurting, physically hurting, mentally hurting, things about you are off kilter to the point you want to end your life. And that is not a time to make those kind of decisions. That's a time to cry out for help, to call a helpline, to call to friends that you trust, to call your pastor, to call the hospital, to call your counselor. That is not a time for you to make a life and death decision to take your life. But he's been critically injured, wounded. Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run me through. Kill me. He's asking somebody else to kill him. Sometimes people don't ask others to kill them. They go and they take drugs, or they take alcohol, or they do fast racing, or they do something to injure themselves or have others injure themselves. And it says here, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me. He didn't want to be abused. He didn't want his enemy to overtake him. He still didn't have any trust in God. He wanted to take care of things on his own, and he was already in his mind thinking the worst, thinking what his greatest fears are. And when you are in depression and you're overwhelmed and your psyche is imbalanced and the chemistry is off, you're only thinking about the worst things that could happen to you and that they're going to be a reality. And because of that, you say, no more. I quit. I want to end this. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. Saul committed suicide in the midst of being wounded critically, seeing the grief of his sons being killed, having the warfare overtake him, having the thoughts of thinking all will be the worst that it could be. He took his life. Grasshopper thinking, self-sabotage, is for the progression of you not just having an issue of